أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. Inshallah everyone is doing well. Today we will be continuing the 10th aspect of what we've been reading, which is about the hereafter, or proofs and evidence for the hereafter and resurrection. Just as a quick recap, we've been going on a proof by proof sort of a journey with the author. He set the stage up by giving us a metaphor in the form of these two travelers, where they've come upon a land and they see that there are goods constantly being transferred in and out, and one of the traveler is having a conversation with the other one, as one is more unreasonable and perverse, and the other one is much more reasonable. And so they're having this conversation where one is presenting the evidence that this land, that all this property must belong to the state, that everything that they see and all the actions must have consequences, and that this place that they're traveling through is indeed a temporary guest house, a hospice of sorts, and that all of these inhabitants that they're seeing there, and they themselves will depart to a permanent realm, and in that permanent realm they will be treated accordingly there to how they've behaved or how they've acted in this temporary guest house, so to say. So I have the 10th aspect up here. Is there anyone who'd like to simply read? That would be much appreciated, but by no means no pressure whatsoever. So feel free to not be shy and raise your hand. Fariha, thank you very much. So let's go ahead and the 10th aspect is only as long as what you see here, plus another sentence in the other next page. So if you can go ahead and read that, that would be great, inshallah. Thank you.
Bismillah. 10th aspect. Come. Today is the vernal equinox. Footnote. You will find what this aspect alludes to in the 9th truth. The vernal equinox is equivalent to the beginning of spring. As for the green plain covered with flowers, this is the face of the earth in springtime. The changing scenes and spectacles are an allusion to the different groups of vernal beings, the classes of summer creation, and the sustenance for men and animals that the all-powerful and glorious Maker, the all-wise and beauteous Creator, from the beginning of spring to the end of summer, brings forth in orderly succession, renews with the utmost compassion, and dispatches uninterruptedly. Certain changes will take place and wondrous things will occur. On this fine spring day, let us go for a walk on the green plain, adorned with beautiful flowers. See, other people are also coming toward it. There must be some magic at work, for buildings that were mere ruins have suddenly sprung up again here. And this once empty plain has become like a populous city. See, every hour it shows a different scene, just like a cinema screen, and takes on a different shape. But notice, too, that among these complex, swiftly changing, and multifarious scenes, perfect order exists, so that all things are put in their proper places. The imaginary scenes presented to us on the cinema screen cannot be as well ordered as this. And millions of skilled magicians would be incapable of this artistry. This monarch, whom we cannot see, must then have performed even greater miracles. O foolish one, you ask, how can this vast kingdom be destroyed and reestablished somewhere else? You see that every hour, numerous changes and revolutions occur. Just like that transfer from one realm to another that your mind will not accept. From this gathering in and scattering forth it can be deduced that a certain purpose is concealed within these visible and swift joinings and separations, these compoundings and dissolvings. 10 years of effort would not be devoted to a joining together, destined to last no longer than an hour. So these circumstances we witness cannot be ends in themselves. They are a kind of parable of something beyond themselves, an imitation of it. That exalted being brings them about in miraculous fashion so that they take shape and then merge, and the result is preserved and recorded in just the same way that every aspect of a maneuver on the battleground is written down and recorded. This implies that proceedings at some great concourse and meeting will be based on what happens here. Further, the results of all that occurs here will be permanently displayed at some supreme exposition. All the transient and fluctuating phenomena we see here will yield the fruit of eternal and immutable form. All the variations we observe in this world are then, for the sake of a supreme happiness, a lofty tribunal, for the sake of exalted aims, as yet unknown to us.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for reading us slowly through this text. So as a refresher, we've been also discussing the main topic at hand, being the verse from chapter 30, verse 50, that says, "Look then to the signs of God's mercy, how he restores life to the earth after its death. Verily, he it is who quickens the dead, for he is powerful over all things." So again, going with this verse, reflecting on this verse, and going on this journey with the author and reflecting on different proofs and aspects of resurrection and the hereafter. So in this 10th aspect, I'd like to share some of the thoughts that came my way as I was reflecting on it, and I'd be very, very happy to hear any questions, thoughts, comments that come your way, should you have any. So please feel free to share at any moment, at any time. Just for clarification, I had to look it up myself, but the vernal equinox is essentially it's the spring. It's the time when basically the first day of spring, if you want to call it that, which is actually next Saturday. So this perhaps the reading of this particular text at this particular time in the year coincides perfectly with the spring that the author is referring to as well. So in this first paragraph, what attracted my attention was that the author, in talking about, so he talks about basically a lot of these changes going on, this wondrous place with a plain and these greenery with beautiful flowers coming about it. And he says there must be some sort of magic at work because things that were just ruins have now sprung up into life. And like a cinema screen, they take on different shapes. So what attracted my attention here was three different aspects as far as I notice it that he's attracting our attention to. One being the universe. So obviously he's drawing a parallel between the place that these travelers are in and the universe as we experience it. The second being the change that is going on. So noticing that everything around me is in constant change and it's constantly in motion. And third, perhaps, this not at the forefront, but I also wrote it down for myself, was this innate sense of attraction or liking that I find within myself towards this change that I find likable towards the spring. And what does the spring represent? It represents, for me, and I'm sure many of us here, new like beginnings, new life, the coming about of life after death in a way, because of how we transition from winter as we are right now into spring. So in a way, it's a representation of resurrection as well. But our attention is being drawn to particular aspects of this experience as we experience it right now as proof of the resurrection with a capital R, if you want to call it that. So I think first and foremost, what I found interesting is that in order for myself to benefit from this particular reflections of the author, I had to re-look and thus re-experience the universe through a lens in which I do not take things for granted. Because is it not true that, in the particular area that I live in, that after the summer months, the colors of the trees change, and then those very leaves fall, and then they wither away, and then a blanket of white embraces all that is left behind, all that is bare. And then with perfect timing, as if all at once, signs of new life emerge from the very plains of the earth that once were bare. And I experience I see the springing forth of different flowers like daffodils, primroses, tulips, and many, many other flowers. I don't even know what they're called. And they just bloom at their particular designated time. But in these experiences, and I've experienced as many springs as my ages, I guess, but it's very, very easy for me to take it for granted, in the sense that, oh yeah, like spring is coming or spring is here, and this is what is meant to happen, and this is supposed to happen, and this is just how things work, as opposed to really looking at what is going on here. Just taking a moment back to see, or to try to free myself from preconceived notions of certain expectations that I've grown to have because of the way the order of the universe works so seamlessly, that I've come to expect that, yes, today I expect the sun to rise and I expect it to set, and I expect that spring is coming. It's basically here, and I expect the flowers to bloom. I expect the cherry blossoms to come out during their particular times, and I expect, because I've grown accustomed to how seamlessly this order has been working. But I think what I needed to do myself was just take a moment to just take a step back to really look at what is going on. And then the author draws our attention to this idea of a cinema, a theater, if you want to call it, like a cinema screen, which indicates that there must be, like, if there's a cinema screen, or like a movie theater, and I'm there to watch a movie, or from my laptop or computer, whatever the device is, I know that there must be a conscious maker or a director behind everything. Not a single prop is out of place. It's their conscious, everything is placed consciously. And the frames or the scenes that I see on screen are there at a particular time, again, very consciously, deliberately planned. And as I watch this, and now coming back to our example here, as I watch the cinema screen of the universe, everything, as it comes on screen, it performs its act. All the flowers, all the bugs, suddenly the mosquitoes that once disappeared during the winter are now alive. The bees, I see them a lot more. Everything, the flowers and trees and everything is once again coming into life. And so they perform their act, and then they leave the stage when their time is up. And some of these things come on at the same time, at varying lengths, sometimes overlapping partially their acts with one another, and they harmoniously perform their acts together within such an immaculate order. So I was just sticking with, like, let us assume that we are in a movie theater and there's a live performance going on in front of us. To think about the amount of power, planning, order, precision, everything that is required to produce such an act in lifetime, all at once, in all parts of the universe. Like, I'm talking about one perhaps live performance, but imagine like live performances that are going on at all parts of the universe at the same time, in such perfect order, continuously, and with different parts playing at the same time at different parts of the world. So as we experience the coming of spring now here, other parts of the world are experiencing the winter or the summer or other seasons. So no matter where I might be, I'm observing, or I'm taking part in observing this act that is being performed to me in lifetime with all of these moving parts, and not the same actor or the same piece is never used twice. So the same, even if I may say that is the same tree there, the leaves are completely new and every moment of existence is new. But even if I want to just say that's the same tree as it was there last year, the leaves are completely new. So the same actor is never used once for the same show. And so, but yet somehow they in working together in such a magnificent way, they put forth the same sort of a message. So where the author says, it cannot be done by millions of skilled magicians. I was thinking about like, what does that mean? And I was thinking about, if in this live performance, where is the prep time? If a performance is going on at all times, constantly with a new show coming in one after the other, where's the prep time? There is essentially no time to stop. And I can't imagine working on a show or being the one to direct it that is nonstop with innumerable countless parts to keep track of, with an immediate like flux and flow of parts leaving. Like I can't even, you train an actor and then they gotta go, that you can't reuse them, something like that. It's impossible to think of, as far as just trying to draw an example with the cinema or the theater or live action here, but it's just so difficult to think of an example within the universe other than the universe, the spring and everything coming about, just because of how extensive and how wide, how extensive all of these, like the detailing for everything is. So I was, in also reflecting on this, I was also thinking about how I'm sure that just staying with the cinema example, with the movie example, that everyone is either watching or has watched some sort of movie or show recently, or maybe perhaps this year or last year. I recently watched WandaVision as of late, and as I was watching it, without giving out any spoilers to those who may not have watched it and plan to do so, I was thinking about the amount of planning and research that must have gone into the show, and how well done the sound design was, and how, as I was watching the storyline, I was also observing the costumes and even the particular capabilities of the actors, and how they must have been directed by the director to say a line in a particular way. So I'm thinking about basically how the show must have been constructed behind the scenes. Um, I'm being drawn to the qualities of the show that reflect the director's vision, pun intended. So the director's capabilities, his will, his whatever he had planned. So, and his vision and message that he is trying to convey to me as I experience the watching and observing and being immersed within the show. So, coming back to our subject at hand, I find that, in fact, I am observing such a miraculous performance in front of my eyes at all times, always in motion, and one that is always acting on time in an orderly way and offering me the same message in the way that the things come, in the way that they perform, and even in the way that they leave the stage, so to say. Thus, I can say that this performance is, or must be carried out in front of me with such ease, and that not a moment or instance of hesitation is shown by the one that is putting this together. So the director of the show that I am observing in the universe must have an absolute director behind it, just because everything is just coming into existence and performing everything with such ease and perfection and on time without any hint of of hesitation. So, Farah, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, Ijbeza, for your discussion. It is indeed a very timely passage and topic, given the spring and this winter for people who have been in the Northeast or Midwest. It was a prolonged winter or a lot of snow. And at times, like, you would wonder with, feet of snow on the ground that, how is this beneficial? Or who is this benefiting, with these piles of snow on the ground? And then in these days, you start to hear a lot more of the birds. You start to see buds of, flowers or things on the ground. And what I'm sort of reminded of is sort of, the question of like, what does it mean for me to be a human being, in these times. So in a way, I connect this to one of the ways that we've also understood this idea of what a human being is in these classes, is this essential experience of using or engaging with all your human qualities. And I think the springtime is a interesting time that engages you, your hearing, your smell, your sight, your feelings. It provides a big opportunity, or a consistent opportunity to engage your feelings and your senses. And taking this, I guess, experience of this very highly sensory experience, you are forced to confront this question of what are these feeling senses asking me to do, or what do I do with them? How do I make sense of it? How do I sort of even prolong the experience of it? And that again will becomes this process or experience, or as we like to say, a conversation with the director, the producer, to this theme of cinema and the performances, the organizer, the fashioner, the designer, the creator behind all of this, and sort of engaging with this performance through one's feelings, and exercising a conversation of praise or whatever that you feel like saying, or thinking, or replying to when you engage your human senses fully. So that's what I've been thinking during this time, and during the season, I guess, and this conversation.
Thank you so much for sharing your reflections and your feelings, Farah. Yeah, I think, it. I guess on one hand, as I take a step back to just really experience what is going on and not take it for granted, then it brings to mind all of these questions that you've also put forth, like how am I making sense of these experiences, and the fact that I am drawn to it, so I do want to prolong it, and essentially drawing my gaze to the one that must be uh, organizing all of this for me with such um, immense power and quality of compassion, because I enjoy the show. And I don't hear anyone saying they don't like watching a sunset or the sunrise or the flowers of spring blooming. So definitely, going through these stages then brings me to ask these questions, then looking to the director, um, the organizer, who is, in a way, indulging, perhaps not the best word, but all of my senses, um, all of my human qualities as well, not just my physical senses, but my human qualities are tingled, or activated. My curiosity is provoked, as I experience this. Brother Ali, I see your hand up, and I know there's a comment, but I will hold it off a little bit on purpose because that is addressed a little bit more in the second paragraph. But Brother Ali, please go ahead, inshallah.
Okay, thank you. As an extension to what is said, the last sentence of the first paragraph, I think, brings us home, our subject. Now, okay, there are wonderful things that are going on. They is beautifully explained that there is something beyond these activities. There must be some agent beyond these activities, and this agent is really performing such an miraculous acts that it is impossible to imagine at the same time everywhere it is taking place, and acts are taking place, and none of them is confused or none of them is an obstacle to other, and they are not following the time they take at the same time, and all together they are changed into a new state of existence with no interruption, no time gap. That is perfect. So this last sentence says, this monarch, the one who is doing all this, whom we cannot see. Yeah, we don't see. Well, I don't see it, but I see his acts, definitely, must then have performed even greater miracles. Look, the sentence is very important. Must have performed even greater miracles. I think performed greater miracles. It means this universe compared to his unlimitedness and infinite quality, which I conclude that the source of this existence must have infinite quality or infinite qualities. So the universe is not infinite, although it is really amazing, wonderful, miraculous, but not infinite. So there must be an infinite acts or performance of his qualities. I think greater miracles. Why? For example, I experience here not uh, as related to the part of the creator of this universe, originator of this universe, but related to my part. For example, almost none of my expectations are fulfilled here, satisfied here. Although my expectations are given existence by this creator, this absolute being, the originator. What does it mean? That is what that's what the text says, and I understand that it is a great point. There must be a kind of creation where my unsatisfied feelings necessitate their existence, which means not really, from my aspect, transient, but permanent, as pertaining to the appropriately to the qualities that of the creator, originator, that I deduced as a result of my observation of the actions going on in this world, as a result of my conclusion that the one, the source, the originator of this universe, creator of this universe, must have absolute qualities. I say comfortably, then I start smiling. Then my expectations are possible for him even more than possible, necessitate the existence of a greater manifestation, greater miraculous exhibition of his qualities. That is what the subject is all about, bringing us into this point. Then we will understand why this universe must be changed, its existence must be changed into another form. And in this form of existence, I must be satisfied as far as my expectations are concerned, because these expectations are his promise to me. I understand that he is able to do that. I concluded as a result of my observation of this creation, and still I don't see that the universe really rightly represents the qualities of this absolute being, because yes, they give signs, indicate to the necessity of his qualities, but they don't represent his creation, appropriate to his capacity. That's why there must be a greater miraculous uh, presentation, manifestation, or exhibition appropriate to his quality. Thank you.
Thank you for highlighting what I consider to be the heart of the matter of at least this first portion, and tying it to the second paragraph as well. In that, in going through this journey of looking at how amazing this creation is, then I can conclude, because of all of these qualities that I experience in the creation, that there must be an absolute source of existence, an absolute director behind everything. And thus, because of an absolute nature, everything that I, or rather, because I experience everything in this universe within a transient or temporary form or amount of time, it looks to these expectations within me, along with the evidence for the absoluteness of my source of existence, that these expectations that are given to me must be fulfilled, that it must go beyond what I experience in this universe, because what I experience in this universe indicates the absolute nature of my creator, and my human qualities also yearn for more than just, I enjoy the coming of spring, but then it leaves me. I enjoy my youth, but then it leaves me. I enjoy the company of people, but then they leave me. So I'm essentially never, and I can never be satisfied. My expectations, my human expectations cannot be satisfied within the universe. Yet this bears good news for me, because of it says, look, your creator, the one who is bringing you and everything else into existence at this moment, has the capability to do this, and within these feelings is the promise for it, which brings us to the second paragraph, if you will. And as and I will read the comment Abe has posted in the chat, where he says, I couldn't understand what the author means when he says this implies that proceedings at some great concourse and meeting will be based on what happens here and permanently will be displayed. So I think in order to best address your question as best as I can, and others can also chime in if they want to, just to begin at the beginning here, where the author says, "Oh, foolish one, you ask, how can this vast kingdom be destroyed and reestablished somewhere else?" And to me, that was a way of saying, okay, look, we've established such a great director with absolute qualities that he can give me unending, meaningful existence. But will he? Is it his will? In a way, that's the way that I interpreted this question. Although within my need for it is also a promise, but another way to phrase the question of, okay, the source of this existence is an absolute source, but will he then give what I want, or give me that which he has given me the desire for? as well. And then, interestingly enough, I think the main argument that the author was making here, and I'll just reread this section that I highlighted, is it says, 10 years of effort would not be devoted to a joining together destined to last no longer than an hour. So these circumstances we witness cannot be ends in themselves. They are a kind of parable of something beyond themselves, an imitation of it, that exalted being brings about in miraculous fashion, so that they take shape and then merge, and the result is preserved and recorded in just the same way that every aspect of a maneuver on the battleground is written down and recorded. So, again, just to take a step back and go back to the movie example, like if I find that I'm constantly making movies and then airing them only once, right, one after another instantaneously, so that only those who are paying attention at that particular moment see it, and if I'm constantly putting on, show after show, one after the other, and this is the kind of the best example that I could come up with using the cinema thing. It shows that just the amount of power, detail, compassion, will, consciousness that is needed to put on such a show. And at the same time, the fact that it is on for such a brief moment looks to and indicates that there must be something else there for me other than just observing things as they are on the surface. So they cannot, because of the immensity of what is going on and how many parts are moving and how short of a time it is here for me. When you make a movie, or when one makes a movie, it's, you want to, when you sell it, or when you air it rather, or when you play it, you want people to purchase watching the movie so that it brings more of an income than the cost of making the movie. Otherwise, you can't make more. But so again, just using this as a simple example, all of these things are so they require an absolute amount of power to bring forth to my attention so that I can experience and consciously reflect on it. And yet they just leave instantaneously, and then they're replaced by new things. So this very reality of my existence, and the argument that I believe the author is making is that these exhibitions cannot therefore exist in and of themselves. They must be a kind of parable of something beyond themselves, something that looks to something behind the curtains, or behind the cameras, behind the scenes, to the director, to the vision, to whatever the meaning that the director is trying to convey to us. And in saying that these exalted beings bring about in miraculous fashion so that they take shape, emerge, and the result is preserved and recorded. We had discussed this also in the 7 aspect a little bit, but in the same way the human memory can record things, or a seed of a tree has records of its past or future trees, and essentially everything in the universe, even on a physical level, it never really goes into non-existence. If you burn a tree, for example, it takes on another form. It's not non-existent, essentially. I mean, it takes on another form. It may no longer be a tree, but it does take on another form. So everything is preserved in one way or another. So bringing us to the question that was posed, which I will find a sentence here as well. I'll just reread the sentence that the Abe quoted from this gathering in and scattering forth it can be deduced that with a certain purpose is concealed within this visible and swift joinings and separations, these compoundings and dissolvings. And then, so what I understand is that the way that everything comes into existence, and the fact that it comes into existence requiring so much detail, so much power, so much compassion, attracting my gaze in such a manner where everything just exists within an order perfectly and in a way that is harmonious within one another, speaking to my human qualities. Yet all of this happens, like all of these different qualities, I can continue on and on, within just a brief moment or just a moment, and then they're replaced again with something else just as great, reflecting the necessity for an absolute source of existence. Shows that there must be a place that these qualities will be permanently displayed, or where I will have my expectations permanently fulfilled. Otherwise, if I say that the things exist in and of themselves, then it doesn't seem to match what I'm experiencing here because of the level of detail and power and will and compassion and all of these different qualities that are necessary to bring that thing into existence. It doesn't make sense if I were to look at it that way. So those are just some of my takes on your question, but I'm not sure if that fully answers your question, or if there's anything else that you want to share, Abe, or if there's anything anyone else wants to share. Okay, no problem. I'd be more than happy to hear your thoughts, and if not, I'd like to draw our attention to essentially the last few sentences here, which attracted my attention, and I'll just read them because it's going to be on 2 different pages. Oh, Taya, please go ahead. And then Galaxy, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Sorry, I just had a question, and I'm still trying to figure it out, but I wanted to know what you thought the author meant in, or why the author deduced that everything must be being recorded. I'm trying to find it in the, oh, there it goes. Okay, it says that exalted being brings them about in miraculous fashion so that they take shape and then merge, and the result is preserved and recorded in just the same way that every aspect of a maneuver on the battleground is written down and recorded. I'm trying to figure out why he deduced that it must be being recorded. I think I have some idea, and I was sort of playing with the idea that we don't, the seasons change, we go through experiences, and we don't, as even just as lowly humans, we don't forget things. So they're like recorded in our minds through our experiences and things like that. But I wanted to know what others thought about that particular. Why do we think it's being recorded? And where is he getting that from? Is like sort of where my head is.
Thank you for voicing yourself, and such a great question. Before we go to Galaxy, I'd like to just open up the floor for anyone else if they'd like to share their thoughts about Taya's question. Anything that comes to them, this would be a great time. And if not, Ali Murmur, please go ahead.
But the Galaxy wanted to speak first, but if you want me to just say something, what Taya said is interesting. How do we know and why should it take place? Of course, we should look at the universe from, or this creation from our perspective. Our perspective demonstrates that not only human memory, every living being is created in such a way that they are recorded. So we understand that the creator is recording something in order to demonstrate that, and to me as a human being who has been given free will, when we choose something, the result of it not necessarily demonstrated or fulfilled. For example, I choose to, that's my feeling, for example. If I choose to do something bad, I experience the bad result of it, but some of my actions, I don't experience. Do you think they are going to be neglected? The one is I am convinced that the creator is demonstrating to me that he is recording, and of course he's telling me in this way that my actions are recorded as well, and the things, their actions, why should their actions, the way they are created, not be recorded, so that accordingly in this greater miraculous creation they will be given another existence according to their capacities. For example, every day we go to the class and we learn something. Why? It is recorded for a purpose. After I graduate from this college or university, then I'm going to use them. That's how I am created. If I don't learn, I won't be able to use them. If I learn, I will be able to use them. So this is how I am experiencing the existence. So my existence demonstrates that definitely everything must be created. But one point is very important. Yes, I am observing something in this world. I conclude that this what I observed is the result of I don't know, nature, result of itself. For example, what I did here, of course, if I realize that, or if I understand that the thing I observed is transferring meaning to me in its existence and letting me acknowledge its creator. Letting me acknowledge its creator. The signs are telling to me, telling me that their meaning must be understood and experienced by me, and I must be able to be taken into account what I did with this meaning. If you receive a letter or a message from someone, nowadays not many people receive many letters now, but a message from your friend, you understand and take an attitude accordingly. For example, your friend is continuously telling you that he wants to see you, he wants your help, etc. When you don't respond them or this friend back, and when you do the necessary things, do you think this friend will be offended? And as far as your existence is concerned, as if nothing happened, but this friend will be offended. If the universe is bringing to me the news about its creator, if I say, no, 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 you don't have a creator, example, or you have a creator, yes, I appreciate it. Of course, the purpose of existence of this object, as far as I am concerned, must have a consequences. So these consequences, for example, as a result of my practicing my free will, these consequences will say, okay, you denied the creator and the reality, and you attributed the quality of the creator to something else. And of course, under the witnessing of that agent, if you like, agent means the one who is presenting the qualities of its creator, will say, yes, he denied me. He said, I am stupid, I am meaningless, I am purposeless. He insulted me. Of course, this scene is very real. For example, can a judge, it's just an example, can a judge pass a judgment without listening to the defender or the complainant? No, he must listen to both of them and accordingly decide. This demonstrates this human quality, gives the hint that, or the sign that, the creator also must present my perception of my universe to me, and I must be put in the court, if you like, and I treated this creation in this way. I treated that creation in this way. I treated this human being, animal in this way. That so both of us must witness to each other. Yes, he did this. Yes, he did that. So this is how I can perceive the universe and its existence and my reality. That's why I say, definitely, if the creator of this universe is able to record it, definitely he must record my actions and bring the objects I pass judgment about, bring the objects that human beings and animals I treated accordingly, and then we will be put together and witnesses there. I will be satisfied that my creator is not being unjust to me. Thank you.
Thank you for your very comprehensive but necessary answer. Taya, I know your hand is up. I don't know if you have a response to Brother Ali's comment. If so, please go ahead.
No, it was just up from before. Thank you, Dr. Ali. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. In that case, I'd just like to, I know we're a little over time. Galaxy, you had your hand up before. I'd like to give you a chance to speak as well, if you'd like to.
Hey, Salam, it's Tolu. My question was with regard to something that you said before, H. Beza, but I've actually forgotten what the question was. So it's all good. Thank you.
Oh no, sorry about that. Feel free. Sorry about that. Yeah, feel free to write your comments down if you'd like. If we don't get to it right away, but so I think inshallah maybe just reading the last sentences and then we can end here today. All the transient and fluctuating phenomena we see here will yield the fruit of eternal and immutable form. All the variations we observe in this world are then, for the sake of a supreme happiness, a lofty tribunal, for the sake of exalted aims, as yet unknown to us. So I think, in a nutshell, as far as I understand it, I can say that in coming to the conclusion of an absolute source of existence that is putting everything in front of me, that as I experience it in such a meaningful way, looks to the meaning and the existence of these things, and that my expectations as a human being, my human expectations, not only can be met by him, but also will be met by him as well. So that's my conclusion in a nutshell, but we can definitely go over this again next week if there's a need. So inshallah, we can, unless there are any final comments or questions, that we can end here today. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.